Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Tim Vixay with my crippled friend, and this is episode number 34. Yeah, man, 34. I can't fucking believe it.
Wow.
We're down here
That's
in
crazy.
Jacksonville, Alabama, which is just east of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm over at one of my crippled friends' house. His name is Ben Tomlinson. He's a rugby player from the Lakeshore Demolition, and he is also a Marine Corps vet. So we're just out at his place and watching the Army Navy game, football game on mute, and decided to do a little podcast. But what's going on, man? How you doing?
Pretty good, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me out, dude.
No doubt, man. It's good to
Yeah,
see you.
it's been a while, so it was kind of cool to be able to catch up. And
No doubt.
I was down here for tryouts and got cut early, which it's kind of a bummer. But
That early.
yeah, it wasn't the first round of cuts, so
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of exceeded my expectations. I thought they were going to try to get rid of me as soon as they can, but yeah, it was kind of expected, going into it, just being in the classificate or the class that I am competing in, like internationally. It's hard to dethrone those guys that have been there, a lot longer than me and are a lot faster and have a little bit more function. But
How many guys showed up this year?
dude, it was a huge camp. There was like 36.
Really?
Yeah, they made I think they made 5 cuts, or they cut 5 guys like that first evening. So it was quick. Like they were like, all right, we got to start thinning out the herd because it's a tough job. Like that can't be easy to have 30, 36 guys,
Have to fire people.
yeah, coming out and trying to compete for a spot that's only got 16. It's like, what 16 are we going to take to go compete with Japan and GB and Australia? Because the rest of the world's caught up. It's not like our dynasty era when the game was just starting out and we were, one of the first countries to play it and start developing like our own chairs. And like there's still like some countries that barely know the game. You know,
There's a lot.
yeah, there's some there. It's weird because there's like some national teams that would get demolished by our Division 1, maybe even like a top level Division 2 team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
How many years have they had? Even had the Olympics, though, like, what,
Started in '96
96?
was a
Okay.
exhibition, and then it went full on in 2000, Sydney.
Yeah,
And
that's barely,
that's when we won
barely any
it.
time.
Yeah, I mean the U.S. was so dominant for the longest time. I forget what the stat was, but it was in that documentary Murder Ball where
Yeah.
they talk about like the win streak that we were on and like how we hadn't lost in a major competition. Who knows how many years? But I mean, you were at earlier this summer. You were at Four Nations, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit online, and it was just like, dude, these Olympics are gonna be insane. Because
Absolutely.
I mean, there's going to be teams there that are going to get smoked by the top teams. I think I would say like the top 4 have kind of distanced themselves, but even like 5 through like 8 is still like just dangerous enough where they catch you slipping, you know, they could upset you, like fucking Arizona State did to my boys.
Yeah, there's really no nation that really is that far above the rest anymore. It's
Hmm.
highly competitive at the top.
Yeah, because you look at what the last 4 major competitions you had. Australia win in Rio, and then Japan won Worlds, right?
So it makes it interesting.
And then GB just won Four Nations. What's really crazy is the U.S. hasn't won Worlds or an Olympic gold since 2010
Yep.
at Worlds. And that was like my first. They did that in Vancouver, so it was like a 6-hour drive from me, and I just been only injured like 2 years, so I was like, shit, let's go up there and watch. Top. I think it was like the top 12 nations. Um, that was my first time seeing like
First time you
high
ever
level
okay, yeah.
rugby like that live. I mean, I known who Riley Bat was because he was playing club ball
Yeah.
with San Diego, but to see like like Lars from Belgium. That's when I first saw him play. Or the pretty boy from Sweden with the long hair. Yeah, Toby.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like watching him just do the ridiculous shit he does with his hands, like throwing the ball behind his back like 20 feet, catching it fucking in all sorts of weird, awkward positions.
There's very few players.
It's like, what the fuck are we watching right now? Like, are these? Or, dude, you know what really blew my mind was watching the low pointers.
Really?
Like the 1.5s and lower. Like, I mean, that was my first time seeing like legit Canadian ones, and just the way, like the speed of the game. I was just like, holy shit! Like, it might not seem like it, like when you watch it on streaming, because you got no like frame of reference. But when you like watch him compared to like, when he's playing against a U.S. player that you've played against, so you know what your speed is comparable to him. You're just like, dude, what the fuck? This game is so much quicker.
Yeah, some of these guys can fly, man.
Because how long have you been playing now?
This is year 6.
Yeah, and you kind of just started becoming a starter, right?
Yeah, basically in the last 2 years. Yeah.
Like right after I left.
Kind of filling up a row, yeah.
Yeah. Filling those slots I'm leaving. A little backstory for those that don't know. I actually lived in Birmingham for 2 years between, I want to say it was like 2014 to 2016. So Ben and I were actually teammates for 2 years. So how's the team been since I left? Because we got to meet you guys, I think the very next year at D2 championships.
Yep.
Yeah, which, I mean, you guys won. It was a close game.
Close. 4 points, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't a pounding.
Yeah.
It was a win that I definitely would have wanted, but Portland's kind of cursed when it comes to championships. We're like 1 for 8 between D1 and D2.
Really?
I think we're like 1 for 8.
Wow.
Yeah, including like 5 in a row. Five D1 championships in a row. So we're like the Buffalo Bills. But yeah, they finally got one like 2 years after, or a year after I left.
The next year after we beat you guys?
No, this was in 2012.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd moved to Vegas, and then they won D1 with Lars, and then that was it. They were a one and done. The team blew up. And all the guys that had been doing it for so long, chasing after that one championship, finally was like, all right, we're moving on to other things.
Really?
But
good one to end on is what they said.
Yeah, the last time I saw you, we were in Houston at that Metal and Muscle tournament. How did that weekend go for you?
Well, decent. We won 3 and lost 4. Couple of close games.
Yeah.
There was really only 2 games we played that we weren't really in it.
Mm-hmm.
Close to the end of the game.
Yeah. How do you think you performed like individually?
Not as well as I wanted to. I kind of had higher expectations for myself.
Yeah, like such as
the weekend. Well, just being able to fill my role on the defensive end, mostly.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to handle a couple of my assignments as well as I wanted to.
If they wanted you like single or steal door someone.
Yeah, usually a lot of times it was something to do with the inbounding process, defending the inbound and being able to stop a certain
I got you.
Stop a certain play like a pick and roll and just not being quick enough on my assignment a lot of times to make the play where I wanted to make it on the court.
Yeah.
Or missing it, So, yeah, I got upset at myself more than I wanted to.
Do you guys have someone filming? Because when I was here, that was like my kind of thing was getting game film.
Oh, that was cool. That was cool to be able to watch film. I learned a lot from that.
Yeah. And that's really not that hard to set up. Like, just get a cheap little camcorder and a tripod and set it up.
Yeah, we need to do that.
It really does help, and I've gotten kind of away from watching film, from like a student perspective. Like I'll watch, streaming and watch like games for the entertainment value, but that's completely different because you're watching the ball and you're looking for the big hits.
Exactly.
But when you're actually like studying film, like you want to kind of really like if you can get a good overhead shot, that way you can kind of.
That's the thing is getting a different perspective.
Yeah.
And then you can.
Because a lot of the film I see now is just like sideline, cell phone, handheld, and it's like that's good and all, but you can't really see what's going on outside of the ball, and that's where a lot of the cerebral shit happens, and that's really like where you and I are kind of operating. Like that's kind of our like AO.
Yeah, you have to be.
Yeah, we're usually not anywhere near around the ball. We're like keeping guys away or just setting picks downfield. But what like what were your goals coming into this season, or like team goals? Did you guys like want to?
Well, they've been kind of fluctuating because we weren't sure if we were going to have an import or not, and then we didn't. And we've had a couple of injuries. We had a guy that was going to play a key role for us, in the starting lineup.
Yeah. Dude, and that's insane because he was like the third dude that broke his leg near Lakeshore, or like associate with Lakeshore, because Mason broke his leg, Josh broke his leg, and then other Josh broke his leg. Like, it's been
it's weird
and,
that it all
dude, and I
happens
was
at
in Bon Air diving with the old PVA president, and he had a bad transfer, snapped his femur. That thing fucking swelled up.
Femur?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, dude, that might be one of my biggest fears now.
I know, man.
Yeah, because I've shit on a plane and I've shit myself on a plane, but snapping a leg and just having to have it casted and being bedbound and just losing your independence.
Totally.
For I don't know how long, and then just the initial shock of like, this should really hurt, but I don't feel pain below my waist. So like, I don't know what's going on. Like, your body's probably just going into like full 80. Because that's what happened with Mason, dude. They like just I forget which bones he broke, but they like reset it and like didn't even cast it up or anything. Sent him back, and he tried showering and just went into a full bore like AD episode. And had to go back to the hospital.
Did it heal properly?
Yeah, he's on the come up now. Which it sucks because it was only like 2 months before like tryouts.
Yeah.
So like Jake Daly freaking dislocated his finger at Metal Muscle.
Yeah.
But he was at tryouts, and you could tell he was hurting when he was pushing, but he was still looking good.
That's pretty quick to come back from.
Have you had any injuries yet?
Nothing serious.
Yeah. My left thumb still hurts from. There was one time when I think it was my last season with you guys, and I was like going towards like someone was scoring. We were on defense, and I was trying to get to the corner, and Josh had came up from behind and bumped me to try to give me some more speed. I wasn't expecting it, and my hand like slipped off my wheel. And I ran it through like the in between my backrest and my wheel, and I just heard my thumb just kind of like pop, and it's been bothering me ever since. Like I'll get like just random days like it'll just hurt for some reason, right at like the fucking base, like right down here at the base.
Did it dislocate?
No, it just hurt like a bitch. So I don't know if there's like a hairline fracture or like a small like tear in the ligament or some shit, but no, it functions fine, but just some days after, like working out or something, I'm just like, damn, my fucking palm hurts. So.
That's another trippy thing about being SCI is you don't really know because you can't use it, so you don't know what the actual problem is if there is one.
Yeah.
Because you might. If your hand did work, like, you don't know if you'd be able to squeeze or not.
Right, yeah.
You just know it hurts.
It hurts, and it's like it's not even like a normal hurt.
Yeah.
Because like I have impaired sensation in my hands.
Yep.
So there's some spots where like I'll feel hot, cold.
Yep.
I don't think I might feel hot, cold on the back of my hands, but I know like on my right hand I don't feel sharp. So when I go to like the VA to get blood drawn, I have them do it out of my hand because I don't feel it. Yeah, it feels like a ballpoint pen or something. I don't feel like the sharp. I'll do flu shots in my legs. I pretty much get all my like immunizations and shit in my legs.
This is kind of random, but have you ever had a B12 shot? Me neither, but I want to get one.
What is it? Like,
well, I hear you just like is a real energy booster. Because, when you take vitamins orally,
yeah,
you don't digest.
How long is the
hardly
effects
any of it.
though?
Well, the guy I talked to said it lasts like a week.
No shit, a week?
Like higher energy levels,
So you're tweaked out for a week?
Well, it's not like tweaking out. it's just like physical energy, like
Do you think you have
more
like
motivated.
do you think you have like chronic fatigue?
Sometimes I feel like it, man.
I feel like fatigued all the time. Like I'm always like I always feel like I could have used like maybe 2 hours extra sleep. And then like right there towards the end of the day I'm just like, fuck, I got shit I want to do, but
Dude, I'm exhausted at the end of every single day, I feel like.
yeah.
Like at the end of every single day I'm like,
Yeah.
I lay down, I'm like, oh,
And it's
thank
like
God.
even if you didn't do shit,
Exactly.
like you could have just hung out around the house.
Yep.
Dude, I get days like that.
Even just mentally is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. There's just days where like
You know what I think it is? I think it's not good circulation.
you think it's
Oxygen,
like toxin buildup,
maybe some of that too. Yeah.
shit like that. Like your body's not
Toxin
fleshing out.
buildup and just not oxygen delivery to every part of the body that we could if we were able to move
That makes sense.
properly.
You ever
And our low blood pressure.
yeah, for sure. 'Cause what do you normally run?
80/50.
Yeah. That's way low. 'Cause I'm like 90/60.
Yeah.
So I'm like just on that line of like okay. Still kind of low.
It's still not like average.
And then blood not blood,
Or
heart rate.
recommended, I guess.
Heart rate's like resting heart rate's like 60.
Yeah, I was going to say like 60, 65.
It doesn't get like maybe during exercise like 105 now.
I was going to say max like probably in the 100s.
Yeah.
A normal person gets what, like 150 or higher?
Yeah, like 120 and up.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you're like just a super athlete, but it's yeah, that definitely yeah, 'cause like you get like swelling in your feet and stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Like daily?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I like
Yeah.
shoes. Like I would have never thought how important like shoes are for a guy who can't walk. Like I was like, cool, I could start wearing like stylish shoes, but it was like certain shoes just need to be able to like stretch out, 'cause if you wear like I'm trying to think if I've had any problems with like anything too serious. But like yeah, like certain like I guess maybe like athletic shoes aren't as like or like leather shoes. Boots are a big one. I got a pair of like hiking shoes that are kind of like low cut boots. And if they're too tight, my feet will just swell, and then I'll see like some redness around my ankles and shit. Especially when I'm flying.
Oh, dude,
Flying's the worst, dude. Look, come out like when we flew to Japan or like anywhere I go overseas, like any over like Australia.
Like a 12-hour flight.
Yeah, anything over like even like a 9-10 hour flight. 'Cause Japan from Portland's like, we go down to San Francisco and then I think it's like 9 hours from then. But yeah, I'll come off the plane looking like a fucking pregnant lady.
Yeah,
like my feet are just swollen.
Yeah.
Toenails look like they're about to pop
Weird,
off.
Yep. Weird looking dude.
Takes about a day for it to go away, but you gotta just get some belly time, get your feet up.
Yep. You got to lay in bed for like 12 hours to get all that out.
Right. I actually wanted to start the podcast talking about Jacksonville, Alabama. 'Cause when I lived here, I came out a few times, watched like some of the big games. But you grew up here, right? Like pretty much, your entire life ish?
Pretty much in this spot too.
Yeah. What what's the thing that you like most like? Like, 'cause I know that feeling of like home, you know, like and just having like your roots planted. Like so, like what is it about this town that's like special for you?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty attached to the school, obviously, and the university. Growing up, um, as a high schooler, I had a lot of friends that went to the university because my parents hire college students.
Yeah, and this
as
is
employees.
Jacksonville State.
Yep. Gamecocks had a down year in football this year, unfortunately. But
What are they mostly known for as far as like academics?
business, they're pretty highly accredited business school,
Yeah.
which is the area that I'm focused on too.
Okay. Yeah, and you said you're graduating in May.
Yep.
Right on. That's with just a business degree, or
Yep. So
all right.
business with a finance focus.
Yeah. You pretty much used your GI Bill for that.
Yep.
You got any left over?
Got a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit yesterday on the drive out here, and you were kind of expressing some interest in like doing your master's program.
Yep. That's what
and
I'm looking towards.
Not 100% sure how it like works out and all, but I'm sure there's vocational rehab would help.
Yeah, I actually talked to somebody last week with Voc Rehab, and they're trying to get me set up to where everything will be paid for with the leftover GI Bill that I have.
Yeah, that's what I heard was you always want to save a little bit of that GI Bill.
Yep.
And then transfer over to Voc. I'm not 100% sure how it all works, but from
It is confusing.
what
They're not sure either.
Right.
They're not sure.
It's like the government in general right now. It's like they're just we're not sure how this all works, but yeah, from what I understand, like you can get certain things covered too. Like if you needed like a new laptop, or I don't know what else you would need for like school, but they would cover a lot more because
There's some expensive software you have to buy.
yeah,
these
that's
days
another thing.
sometimes.
Yeah, it's like they would cover like if you wanted to go to school for like design or something, they would cover like Adobe Premiere or the Adobe Creative Suite. No, that's cool though. Like what
They're pretty good at it. They're pretty good at adaptive technology too.
yeah, right. Like if you needed something for school, like if you needed a tablet to take notes
Yep.
or something like that, you know.
Yep.
Which
Or
I tried to
voice recognition software for
yeah, for
writing
typing.
notes.
Yeah. I tried using a tablet at school for like typing, and then like even bringing a audio recorder. And it came down to I was like I just need to learn how to freaking hold the pen and just scribble notes. So like my notepads, they're
Writing code.
yeah, it's like only I can read it.
It
but
works. I mean,
It was cool because like now
as long as you understand it.
yeah, now my shit's kind of like it's sort of legible, you know, and that's
Well, it's funny what you can come up with when you just think like that. You know, when you think
yeah. And for the longest time, I was working with my occupational therapist, and we were trying out like different pens that had like loops or like little, they'd look like maybe like spurs where they had like a big U. You'd like kind of slip around the finger, and there was like ones that like Velcro. Ooh, go Navy! Navy just tied it up 7-all.
That was a good play.
No, wasn't even paying attention. But
Got it pretty fast.
yeah, it ended up just finding the right pen, and I settled on the I think it's called the Pilot V2. It's like an ink roller, and it writes real smooth, so you don't have to like press down on the paper too hard. And yeah, it works. It works pretty good. It's like almost like a gel pen kind of, but writing's legible. So
It's a shoulder workout for me to write. Is it for you? The way you
it
write?
gets like exhausting, but so does typing.
Like after a paragraph, I'm like,
Yeah. So does typing. Like typing,
Yeah.
I type with the knuckles on my pinky.
Okay.
And same with using like the trackpad. I'll use my left pinky to like move shit, and then I type like.
I used to have a trackpad, but I shifted to a ball roller.
A lot of guys do that. Yeah. I can get by with like a mouse. And a mouse is a lot easier to like click and drag, because the touchpad you gotta like double tap, hold, and move around. It gets annoying sometimes, but I can get by with the mouse.
It's all about what you're used to.
And it's always weird because like, like we're similar function, but different shit's gonna work out differently for all of us. Like the way you tape up for rugby wouldn't be like.
It's just habit, whatever you get comfortable with that you kind of work at.
And it works for you, but it might not work for me, and someone else in the same class is going to do something totally different. Like, I was looking at, like, Scott Hogsett, like the way he tapes up, and it's just like a glove and a rounded tape just to keep the glove on. Like, he doesn't have to go up the forearm or anything. I was just like, that's weird. But then, there's guys like me that use reverse duct tape halfway up the forearm. There's guys that freaking athletic tape almost all the way up to the elbow.
Yeah. I used to do that.
All the way up to the elbow like that?
Well, not that high, but like pretty high. Then I was like, you know what? What am I doing? Once I stopped and thought about it, I was like, I don't need all that.
How do we not have a tape company sponsoring the league and just using like a special discount code?
We need some expert marketing.
Right. I feel like we got we have a pretty good market share of like the hockey tape. And I mean, I donate about, I don't know, probably about $1,000 to Gorilla Tape a year, because each roll is like almost $10, and I probably go through 100 rolls a year, I think. Maybe not that much. Maybe like 50 rolls a year.
You need to get that to sponsor.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No, like, yeah, if anyone from Gorilla Tape is listening, you guys sent me a box one time full of duct tape, and it was really cool, but some more would be great. And
this would be sponsorship.
Maybe a good maybe a good sponsorship, because their glue is pretty good too. The Gorilla glue.
It is. Dude, they make some good stuff.
Yeah, and I can only use the duct tape when I play rugby, because like the regular duct tape, I just burn through them.
Right.
It doesn't matter if I double wrap, triple wrap. Like, eventually I'll just burn through it, get right to the skin, because the Gorilla Tape, like the backing and the adhesive, is really sticky. You know what I really like about the adhesive is like after a while they start caking on your push rims from like all the stopping and starting. Like it just kind of like rubs off, and then you start building this kind of like adhesive like layer.
Yeah, it leaves this tacky.
Yeah, and then the vinyl sticker covers that I have on the spoke guards, that'll start picking up some of this shit too. So once I get a good set of like weathered wheels, man, they're tacky as shit. And I don't really like using stickum.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. It's caused me way more problems than it's helped. Like I've thrown the ball away because it's like stuck too much on my right hand, and it fucking zings it off to the right. Oh, fuck, I knew this was going to happen. I got to take a piss. We're going to pause real quick. I'm going to go take a leak. I'll be right back. Anyways, we're back, and I think before we left off, we were just kind of talking about like everything cool that was kind of like what made Jacksonville home for you. What made you want to join the Marine Corps? Like, was that something that you kind of always wanted to do, or?
Not really, man. It was something that I got interested in when I was a senior in high school.
Oh, yeah? It's a little bit late in the game.
Yeah.
'Cause this was what, like, 06? We graduated the same year. Yeah. Shit. We're about the same age.
Well, we will be the same age in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're right.
When's your birthday?
August 30th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're like, what?
So you're
4.
6 months older than me? Well,
5.
5, okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, almost less than that. Like, really, like 4.
30th. Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much the end of August. You're like the beginning of January.
4 months and 1 week.
Fucking college education, man. Yeah. Yeah, so like your senior year, wait a minute, did you see a movie?
I'm sure I saw a movie that...
Was it called Jarhead? Jake Gyllenhaal?
I don't know if I saw that one.
Yeah, because that came out I think that came out in 2005.
I might have seen it.
And I remember seeing it, and that's kind of when, to be honest with you, I learned the difference between like the Marines and the Army. Because I thought the Marines were just like more like ceremonial. Because, you know, all the commercials of like my era were like Marines and blues and shit. So I didn't really know what the Marines were.
They were the guys that killed the dragons in...
Yeah, the lava monster,
the lava monsters.
Dragon, the fucking stupid chessboard one with the, like, he had like the lightsaber or some shit. Like, it was...
They climb mountains in like Arizona or something.
What was the target audience?
Change into their dress blues on top of the mountain.
Right, yeah. Like, what was the target audience there? Were we trying to recruit like the D&D nerds for like all the, you know, smart jobs, like the intel jobs and all that? Or
it's hard to know what they were thinking with that marketing campaign.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, I know it's like kind of like a like it's like, you know, of the times, but I feel like
what's weird is apparently it worked.
I think where the Marines get the most like free publicity, free marketing is like when they do movies like I mean, Generation Kill was a big one, but even like what was it called? Battlefield LA, or what was it? The one where the aliens attack LA. Did you ever see that one?
I think I saw that one.
Yeah, it was like, that one was kind of cool. It was like Marines at like Pendleton fighting off aliens that invaded like Los Angeles. It was definitely like moto boner inducing. And then I mean, even movies like Full Metal Jacket and shit like that.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one that probably won.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of people over.
Yeah. And that's like, isn't that kind of like what makes like the
people talk about that one a lot in boot camp.
Yeah, well, isn't that like what makes like the Marines kind of like unique? Is like someone watches that movie and it
Gunny, what's his face?
Hartman, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. But like you see all the fucked up things about the Marines, and like the boot camp, like it was a good depiction. It wasn't like 100% accurate. It was also maybe kind of dated, but you see something like that, and like most normal people, I feel like, would be like, wait, what the fuck? What? Like, are you volunteer to do this? Like, are you like, fucking crazy?
Yeah, I'm never gonna do anything like that.
Yeah, and there's a certain percent of the population that like watches something like that and just is like, they're missing that piece of their brain that says like, that's insane, and it switches to like,
I could do that.
I handle that.
Yeah,
like that ain't shit. Like that actually sounds kind of fun.
Yeah,
and like that's what makes fucking Marines like kind of like our special breed. Like, and I hear that from a lot of guys from the other branches. Like they don't
be some psychological flaw.
Well, you don't understand like the esprit de corps is like what we call it, but you know it's like a brotherhood, you know, and it's a fraternity with, you know, really cool gadgets and guns. So you went like straight out of high school?
I did a year of college.
Oh yeah, same actually. Wait, when did you go to boot camp?
July 2007.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I went in February 2008. I waited like a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, that was kind of like, that was one of my biggest regrets, was not just saying, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you wasting your time at community college? Like, you know this is what you want to do. But it was, I mean, at the time, like, my parents were pretty against it because, I mean, we were in the middle of 2 wars, but, like, I fit into that unique brand of just craziness, because that was one of the reasons why I wanted to join. Was I was like, I kind of want to experience war, because not every generation has that opportunity. And I was like, this is like an experience that I don't want to let, like, just pass. Which, I mean, yeah, apparently I'm fucking crazy. But did you know you wanted to go like infantry?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like no other job or anything.
That was the only option.
Yeah, I wanted to be a tanker. Like, cause I knew I wanted to do something that wasn't available on the civilian side. And then, like before I joined, like right out of high school, I was working at Caterpillar. So I was working around a lot of like heavy equipment. So getting to drive like, D9 dozers and giant fucking backhoes. And like, just all the different equipment. So I like fell in love with just operating equipment. And I thought it'd be badass to fucking operate a M1 Abrams and be able to fire at, a 120 millimeter cannon at a fucking building, just demolish it. But it didn't work out. I swam too good, and they gave me amphibious assault, which ended up being cool because like the base, Camp Del Mar, like we're right on the beach. So when people ask me about like my Marine Corps career, I pretty much just tell them like, that scene in Top Gun when they're on the beach playing volleyball, that was it. That was it. Like we would be hanging out the beach just playing like, football and drinking beers, and that was my fucking pretty much after hours on the weekdays. Yeah, like
it's not too bad.
No complaints, man. It was cool. We were like, kind of pretty close to the south gate, so we just dipped out. But you took kind of a different career path than I did. You actually ended up, how would you say that? Going out for recon, trying out for recon.
I guess trying out's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Did you know anything about like the reconnaissance?
Only what I read in the Force Recon Diaries.
Is that a book?
Yeah.
Yeah. You read that like when you were in high school, or?
Either in high school or right after high school. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I honestly didn't know anything about it until I enlisted, and then people were talking about infantry contracts with recon, and I was like, okay, this is just like our special, operations. But and MARSOC wasn't a thing at the time, so right. I didn't really know shit about it. Like, I wish I would have educated myself more on just the military in general. But I mean, at the time, I was so bored with life, and I was ready for just a change. And then I was just ready to just dive in, and it didn't really matter what. But I do wish I would have done my research better, because I mean the internet was still a thing, and I imagine like the resource now is just incredible for those people.
Right.
But would you say like you were always pretty athletic? Because going out for recon's like a kind of a big thing, right? Like you got to be.
I mean, I wasn't an amazing athlete, but I was probably above average.
Yeah. Because it's pretty. Would you say it's pretty physically demanding?
Yeah, I'd say it's highly physically demanding.
What are some of the parameters, like for the listeners that don't know, myself included, because I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
Well, you certainly have to be an above average swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
As far as being in the water a lot growing up, I was. I wasn't a competitive swimmer, but certainly an above average swimmer. I was in the water all the time.
Yeah.
The pool or the lake or the river or something like that. And,
yeah, that's just being comfortable in the water is what really helped me with like swim qual and all that, and just being like amphibious assault, like just being around the water.
Knowing how to move in the water is huge, because some people that aren't used to it, it takes a while to get comfortable,
Yeah.
And that's the first thing that usually ends people's hopes of getting into a special operations unit is
Swimming. Yeah.
Because they know that not only is it physically demanding, but there's a psychological factor involved too, because in the back of your mind, there's the fear of drowning always.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a lot of experience in the water, you're thinking, while you're tired, you're thinking, I might die.
Yeah.
And
Everything in your body.
They play on that. The instructors do to, really amplify that fear.
Yeah, because everything in your body
Handle
is
that.
designed to like survive.
That's right.
Like that's your ultimate goal in life is just to
At the basic
survive.
level, yeah.
And
the most basic level of what you're thinking.
Water becomes a good like instructional tool that they can kind of manipulate and
Definitely
use against you. And it kind of you think it's like they try to trigger that like fight or flight simulation. Like, what's he gonna do?
They try to hit your trigger.
Yeah, when shit hits the fan.
Yep.
Like, is he gonna? Is
control?
this someone that we can depend on?
Or are you gonna break down?
Yeah, right. Did at any point during like BRC did you want to quit, or or like at any point during boot camp or like ITB, like did you ever want to quit?
Did I want to?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there were moments where I was like, wow. If I could dip out of here right now, I probably would.
Yeah. Like, why the fuck am I here? I could be back home at college.
Yeah, like this is not the right decision.
You think? Yeah. Yeah, there was I would say there was definitely a couple times, like I'd say maybe like every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
There would be a moment. I mean, it could just be during like daily PT where it's like, why the fuck are we up this early running on the beach right now? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Like, this is stupid.
What got me more than anything else was just the mind games that the instructors play, like having to do something that's pointless just because this guy told you have to do it.
Yeah, just getting fucked with constantly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, why am I doing this for this clown?
Yeah. Yeah, you never, because like...
There's nothing productive about this.
Well, because we're so removed from it now. Like, we're just a bunch of washed up veterans now, where it's like we only remember the good moments. Like the time that, we went out and got drunk with our buddies and fucking old Private Schmuckatelli banged a fucking hooker in an alleyway or some shit, but like you never think about like the field days and just the pointless fucking work parties, the endless fucking fuckery. Like the green weenie will get his. But once you got into the fleet, was it kind of what you expected? Especially like going, because you went first recon battalion?
Second.
You went second? Okay, so that's out at what, Lejeune?
Yeah, Camp Lejeune.
Yeah. What was it everything that you like expected like fleet life to be?
Not totally. I mean, a lot of it was I guess I didn't really know what to expect totally about everyday life. I kind of had an idea of I thought I had an idea of what missions involved.
Yeah.
What deployments involved. I really didn't, but those things always change anyway, so you can't really know how those things are going to go either. But everyday life, I guess I didn't think about it hard enough. It's like, what would everyday life be at a unit like this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just
what was everyday recon like?
Constantly training.
Yeah.
Something you never really know what the next week or so is going to involve, because commanders that are in charge of a unit like that are in real time trying to adapt their unit's training to whatever mission is prevalent.
Yeah, to make sure you're current.
Staying current all the time.
Right.
So they might say, all right, next week we're going to go here, we're going to go to Fort Benning, and we're going to do such and such. And 3 days before that happens, they're like, oh, change of plans. We're going to Fort Bragg, and we're doing such and such. So,
yeah. Did okay, so after BRC, okay, describe the pipeline, because like you go to boot camp for 3 months, and then you go to ITB
for me, it was Paris Island, and then
you did SOI at
Camp Johnson.
Where's Camp Johnson? That's still East Coast, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's attached to Camp Lejeune, basically.
Mm-hmm. And that was 8 weeks at the time?
Man, I think so.
And then off to BRC?
Yeah. I went straight.
And that was
from
at Pendleton?
BRC.
Yeah. And then so after that, are you considered, like, do you get your recon jack, or you're
far from it.
So you're not even what's the MOS designation? 0321?
That's the recon, yeah.
That they don't switch your like designation yet?
No.
Okay. So where after BRC, where do you go?
So so wait, you're saying when you leave from SOI, you don't go straight into BRC. You have to you're in what's called an indoctrination platoon.
Okay.
And you are with a pool of other guys that just came out of infantry school, and guys that come from other units.
Yeah. Yeah, like other like O3s that are.
It's a lot of O3s, but it can be any MOS
that
whose unit allows them to
come over for the indoc.
Come to the indoc, and there's a large number of guys. I don't remember how many at any given time. It fluctuates. How many guys are in that indoctrination platoon waiting to be called into a class?
Yeah.
But you're constantly competing with all those guys
for slots
to be in the next class. And I think the classes opened up like I think there were 4 classes a year.
Yeah.
I might have that wrong now, though. I think
it's probably changed, and it's been almost 10 years.
Plus, with the rise of MARSOC now, there's no telling what
kind
of what the pipeline looks like. But
yeah, that was one thing that I started getting interested in, like right around the time I got hurt, was looking at like A&S selection for MARSOC, because I was pretty happy in amphibious assault, but it was like I wanted to get closer to the action. And it was just like at the time it didn't seem like we were looking at going on like Muse and floats and shit, but it wasn't anything like I wanted to get into combat, and that's when I should have done my research and just gone either infantry or combat engineer or something. But that's completely my fault. So when do they actually change your MOS designation to like to be an O3? I probably look like a fucking ghost right now on the camera because I'm like glowing from the.
I know, it's like if I lean forward, I'm getting like blinded. But I guess I could lean forward and give you some shade.
Don't worry about it.
Good friend.
Next time I get up, I'll fucking go close the blinds.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah. When do they actually change your MOS to 0321?
So the reconnaissance course is about, I think it was 14 weeks.
Mm-hmm. What's the attrition rate?
We started, let's see, I think our class started with 70, and we ended with 30, 31.
Damn. So over 50%.
And during that time, see, they know that most of the drops are going to happen early.
Mm-hmm.
So within the first week of training, they'll still bring up guys from the indoctrination platoon to replace guys that drop from that class. Because it's like, all right, you've only missed basically a day of torture in the water most of the time when you're brought up.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure they're going to get some extra attention.
Exactly. So those guys are going to get the same treatment. And, you can still find out if this guy can, if he's good to go, after this process is over, although he missed one day of the same type of issue that we're going to keep bringing up with the other guys the whole time. But if you make it through day 1, you're likely to make it to day 7 at least.
Yeah.
Because they just kind of ramp up the pressure every day a little bit. But, again, most of the attrition happens in the first week. But there's so many factors that go into surviving, not surviving, but
making it through.
Yeah. You can, there's so many chances to get injured.
Yeah. Does that happen a lot? Or because I mean, there's always, obviously, you can drop on request DOR at any point, but would you say a lot of guys also get hurt?
Guys tear their knees. Guys blow out their ankles. Guys blow out their shoulders. I mean, it's pretty brutal on your body every single day.
Yeah.
For 13 weeks. And
you know what we call that where I'm from? It's bad genes.
It's weird, though, because some of the guys that you look at that are like the most physically imposing, at least in my experience, were some of the ones that got hurt more often.
Yeah. Probably because they're lugging around all that extra beef.
I think that's what it is, man. I think maybe some of the longer and more athletic guys.
Yeah.
It seems like they're more exposed to injury in the type of physical, movement.
Yeah. I think some guys just don't know how to handle pain. Because we had a lot of guys that would, like, fall out of, humps from, like, shin splints and stuff. And it's like, shin splints aren't going to kill you. They're going to hurt, but, like, you can work through any sort of hurt, really.
Well, if you want to quit, you're going to use that as an excuse.
Yeah. No, totally. Like, everything, if you don't want to do something, you're going to find an excuse. Like, something's going to hurt, or, hey, I got a blister on my heel.
That's different from being, like, injured to the point where you can't complete an exercise, and so...
Yeah.
But when that happens at the reconnaissance course, usually they'll recycle you. Like, if you have a legitimate injury...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you fall off an obstacle and snap your, femur in half...
I've seen that.
Oh, yeah.
Scenario.
Yeah.
Guy snapped his femur, stepping awkwardly on while carrying a lot of weight on his back, and that's all it takes sometimes. It's just a bad angle on a step to take you out of the entire process, and they'll usually set a guy up like that to think, okay, he would have fared well if he hadn't had this.
Mm-hmm.
How
many times do you get recycled before they say, all right, dude, like, your genetics are just horrible?
I think it really depends. I don't think there's a actual limit, but for it to happen more than twice, I think, like, you really got to have some help administratively. Like, someone's got to speak up for you and say, look, we're going to keep this guy here because we know he'll be good once he gets to a unit.
Yeah.
He'll be valuable as a teammate.
Ooh, so that brings up, like, another good question is, would you say most of the applicants for, like, recon are, like, fresh boots from SOI and, like, boot camp, or would you say they're...
It's different at different times.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When my class was mostly new guys.
Okay.
We had a few guys that came from other units.
So, like, some corporals and, like, maybe some sergeants?
Yep. E4s, E5s. We had a couple of international officers.
Oh, no shit. Like
class.
Rock Marines, or?
We had a guy from, I think it was Panama.
Oh, shit, really?
And a guy from somewhere in Europe, but I can't remember.
Denmark or Poland or something?
It wasn't Poland. I don't think it was Eastern Europe. I wish I could remember this.
Scandinavian?
No. Yeah. Somewhere in the Balkans, maybe.
Oh, shit. Wow. I never even thought about that. Because at my MOS school,
I keep thinking Bulgaria, but it wasn't Bulgaria.
Yeah, maybe like Hungary or Czech.
It might have been Czech.
Oh, there you go.
He might have been a Czech guy.
Oh.
I don't know what I was getting at with that. There's a lot of diversity in.
Yeah, no, that's what we were talking about. Was just like.
But I know guys that went through classes where it was hardly any new guys.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that were in my team at battalion that went through a class where it was like I was, one of the few guys that hadn't been to Afghanistan before in my BRC class.
Yeah, that was interesting about like the time that you and I enlisted was that a lot of our instructors all had combat experience, and I don't think with like Noah's generation, like it was real rare. You might have had like that Desert Storm guy, and then out of like the 4 of those guys, maybe one of them might have his combat action ribbon, but I think 3 of the 4 drill instructors that I had their combat action ribbon. I think 2 of them had multiple awards, and then things really did change kind of like in 07, 08 as far as the way we approached training, because the guys post 9/11 all knew it was going to be for real, but it wasn't, that we had to get through a couple cycles of like pressure testing different tactics and like how we're going to operate. And I feel like the training that we got it
was constantly shifting too.
Yeah.
Even during that time.
But having that
that
ingrained into us, because we knew that like things were always going to be evolving and you're always going to have to stay on your toes and like figuring things out and like, all right, this isn't going to work anymore. So how long were you in the fleet before you went on your first like deployment?
1 year.
Okay.
13 months.
13 months from when you were in the Marines, so it took you...
No. Once I graduated from the reconnaissance course.
So you were already in the Marines for 2-ish years?
Right at 2 years.
Yeah. Was that over to Afghanistan?
Yep.
Okay. So this is just trying to keep the dates correct. 09?
09, yep. June of 09 was when we left for my first deployment.
Okay. Is that... I'm trying to remember now. That's just the beginning of Ramadan, right?
September, I think, is Ramadan, maybe. I don't know.
I thought it was earlier. It's always rotating,
I get dates mixed up.
Yeah. Without getting into too much detail, because this isn't really like a military podcast. This is just mostly for my curiosity. But what was your main kind of like area of operations and like responsibilities overseas?
On my first deployment, my platoon, without going into too much detail.
I mean, we can if you want. But.
We deployed as a company.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually, I think at the time, it was the largest deployment it was the largest recon unit that had ever deployed.
Yeah.
I think.
Because that's when...
My company, because it was usually teams and platoons.
Yeah, and 09 was kind of a weird shift, I think, in Afghanistan, because we had kind of forgotten about Afghanistan for the longest time. I mean, certainly when I was going through boot camp and everything, the whole focus was Bush's surge in Iraq.
Yep.
And then it was
just changing back.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, we're still fighting in Afghanistan, and they've learned, they adapted their tactics, and like it became like they started kind of coming back on the offense.
They did.
We're just like, oh shit, here we go.
Especially in Marja.
Yeah. I went to high school with a lot of guys that ended up fighting in Marja, and that was 2010.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we were one of the first initial pushes into Marja, once it had become known as a hotbed of resurgent focus for activity.
Yeah.
I guess, and so that was towards the end of '09, and I think not '10.
It was early. It was early '10.
Was when we really made a consolidated effort to get a serious foothold there.
Yeah.
But when we tried to go in there, I mean, it was
couldn't make a dent.
We couldn't penetrate.
Yeah.
There was just so much concentration there of hostile forces that they kind of had a perimeter around the place set up. And
yeah,
it's strange to think about, but those guys did not want us coming in there.
From what I've heard from guys that like were in Fallujah and from the books I've read about Fallujah, it was very similar, but we also didn't at this point, like we were kind of war fatigued. So we didn't really have like all the right resources that like we didn't have the assets that we did in Fallujah. Because Marja could have been completely different.
I don't think we were as dedicated in Marja as we were to Fallujah.
Right. That's yeah. It was because that's another thing is it's just like we're looking at the goal line, right? It's like to win this war, where it was like Fallujah was just an objective, where Marja, it was like, when does this end? Like we're still. I mean, it's almost 2020, and there's still conflict going on in Afghanistan. So it was like, where's the finish line? Like, when do we say like we've accomplished what we set out to accomplish, or
that could be the beginning of a whole different conversation there.
Right. Like when do we just pack up the suitcase and say, "Fuck, we did our best, but we're gonna have to chalk this one up in the loss column." And
well, when can we say we did our best? That's.
I think individually, we've always given our best. When you break it down into the companies that have fought and the platoons that have slept in the dirt and the individual who gave up 13 months of his life, fighting for a cause that maybe he necessarily doesn't understand. When you break it down into that micro level, we've always done our best, but it was like, was our trajectory always in the right place? Like, was this always the right strategy, the right approach? And it's, I don't know. I think it's still too early to tell, but to me, it doesn't look good. I was just reading an article about a guy, I think he's like a 19-year-old kid. Maybe he's like just about to turn 19, but he was like maybe 8 weeks old when 9/11 happened. And he's getting deployed to Afghanistan as I want to say like aviation mechanic, something on the wing side for the Army. But it's just like, that's insane to think about, because 9/11 is like a memory that I have, that I remember like it happening and my reaction, and like it's just insane to think that like there's a kid over serving in Afghanistan that isn't going to have that recollection of what that day was like and how things changed.
It's getting harder and harder to connect the events of today to the initial cause.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets about serving?
I have all kinds of regrets.
Yeah. Like if you could go back and talk to 17-year-old Ben, would you have chosen a different path? Even knowing what you know now, like that eventually you'd become paralyzed. And
see, that question's always like,
it's a little bit loaded.
That question always trips me out.
It's a little bit
People
loaded.
ask me that, and I'm like, dude, if I could go back to any point in my life, knowing what I know now, it's like, obviously I would, cause some kind of tripwire effect throughout the whole
right,
goddamn universe. But
that space-time continuum.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like the farther you go back in your life, it's like, how much impact did this decision have?
Yeah.
On where I get, and how much different would my life be just because I changed this single decision that I made on this
butterfly effect.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's exactly that. So
yeah.
It's like, would I change this? I'm like, I don't know, because what's the ultimate impact of changing anything that I ever did?
No, I hear you. It's all
and how does that
hypothetical.
Affect, the experiences that I have after that I would change also.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's like, what would that even mean to change one decision that I made?
I've thought about this, and when I was an able body, I was a average Marine. Wasn't outstanding, wasn't a shitbag, just completely average. And I didn't really have like any plans to like make it past 30. So I always figured like I was gonna die young, either like in a car accident or doing something stupid, So I knew that I wanted to squeeze in as much like life experience as I could while I was here.
There's some kind of personality trait that there's a name for that.
Oh yeah.
I think I had it too.
Right.
It's just like you don't have the vision to go beyond a certain expanse of time.
Right,
Is that the right word?
Yeah. Well, I think for me it was like I had just lost so many friends at an early age. So it made me realize that like nothing's guaranteed. Like
that's going to have a huge effect on you.
Yeah, you can make plans for all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the universe is going to get his. So I was just
nature's going to get hers.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm going to just try to experience as much of life as I can. And if it ends up being a short one, then at least I got these memories. If it ends up being a long one, then at least now I have more memories. And it's kind of weird because like I get to live my life like that now with a complete freedom that I never even thought was possible. And, that is because I'm paralyzed, and, I got lucky and service connected. So it's like I get this financial freedom that like a lot of people aren't fortunate to have. And that's why like I always think it's like important to like give back as much as I can, whether it's like, the veteran community through Oscar Mike, or just even helping out, donating to a fellow rugby player's like GoFundMe so he can get his own hand cycle or something. Like, yeah, I got no qualms about just like totally paying it forward, because before this, man, it was rough. Like I didn't really grow up like, I didn't grow up like completely poor, but it definitely wasn't where I'm at now, so.
It's funny how see, you don't have an entitlement mentality, so you feel like you owe a certain debt.
Dude, I deserve nothing that I've received. In my opinion, like I didn't deploy. I didn't see combat like you. I feel like I don't deserve any of this.
Well,
but
who deserves what, in the end? Like, what does anyone deserve?
Yeah.
Deserve is a weird word, right?
Right. That's why
it's all relative.
We were talking about Westerns the other day, and my favorite Western is Unforgiven. And one of my favorite lines in it is, deserve has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Right there at the end.
Yeah.
I don't want to like give any spoilers, but the movie's 30 years old, but right at the end he's just like, deserve has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I was just like, God damn, like,
it's like
Clint Eastwood is right. Like,
deserve. It's like, how do you even quantify what
yeah,
deserve even means?
But so like what I get to do is like, at least I can pay it forward, give what I've been, given, and pass it on, whether that be through, like helping a guy out with his GoFundMe, or even just passing on the knowledge that I've picked up along the way. It's like,
it feels a lot better to act that way, though.
yeah.
What's the word? It's a lot better on your psyche, I think, to think that way. To not think, like, it's more of a selfless approach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you benefit a lot from that. Not thinking that, yes, I do deserve this. I'm owed this. And so you don't appreciate anything. And so you have an unappreciative
and you do
attitude,
right? You kind of do see that in our community sometime, where guys
people suffer when they think like that.
Yeah,
they cause their own mental anguish.
Right,
when they think like
and
that.
what is it really over? It's like,
it's all subjective.
It is. Yeah. No, that's one thing I'm gonna have to just bounce around in my head for a while, because it's one of the questions that I always get that I don't know how to answer, completely honestly, is like what do you do for a living? It's like, well, I mean, technically I'm retired, but I don't feel retired.
Yeah.
I play wheelchair rugby, but that doesn't pay the bills. So I guess, I don't know. Would you call me a philanthropist or a humanitarian, in some aspects? But I don't know. It's always weird to just.
It's a struggle, because it's not like we're living the way evolution set us up to live.
Yeah.
We're provided for.
Right.
Which is a strange thing. It's like we're not.
Yeah. I think that's why every day I try to do at least one thing, because what I want to, the way I look at it is I still work for the government. I get a government paycheck. So at least in some fashion, try to give back at least one time a day. So, if I go eat out at a restaurant, I mean, I'm probably one of the best tippers, because I'll leave, a 25-30% tip, especially if the service is outstanding. Or just, if you're at the VA waiting room, talk to an older veteran and just have a conversation with someone, because you never know, that might be the only time he gets to interact with someone. And then, he picks up his meds from the pharmacy and he goes off to his fucking shack and watches The Price is Right. And that's his day, So it's I don't know. I've that's one thing, man, is we were talking, if you go back and change anything, would you? And it's I feel like the person that I've become because of the paralysis is a much better kind human being. Because before I was hurt, I was pretty selfish, and it was always about getting mine, and I had no problems fucking over other people, and just being kind of just, I don't think egotistical is the right way, but just, I don't not, maybe not having the right feelings for people, not having that maybe empathy might be the right word.
Well, that's being young too.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is
growing up, and also the experience that we.
But I don't. If I wasn't paralyzed, I don't think I would have grown up to be the same person that I am now. So.
We also see the best side of people a lot that we probably wouldn't see, because everyone's willing to reach out and help us.
You think that, though?
I feel that way a lot. I get that a lot.
Okay.
I feel like I get people's best side almost all the time.
You also live in the South, and people are generally a little bit nicer here, especially if you're of the same race. No, I get that. You get a lot of like sympathy looks. People are always asking like if you need help getting in and out of your truck and stuff like that.
And even though I don't like sympathy, it's like, hey, that's something to say about that person, that they're just willing to.
At least they're willing to go out of their
something.
way.
Yeah.
And that's I don't get why people.
You wouldn't get that if you weren't in our situation. Like,
yeah,
nothing even close to that would happen. They'd be like,
yeah,
fuck that guy.
So let's backtrack just a little bit. And like, could you just tell the kind of like the listeners, like, again, you can give as much detail as you want, but like, what how did you become part of the Cripple Club?
Well, we'd have to go back to May 11th, 2011.
There's only one way you can really start the story. So no shit, there we were.
There you go.
So May 11th, 2011.
May 11th, 2011. Possibly our last mission of the deployment. We thought it might be. It was kind of 50-50. It was like, we either got this one and one more, or this is it.
At this point, how long were you in country?
It had been 6 months.
Okay.
Right at 6 months.
Yeah.
So this is going to be one of our biggest, as far as number of personnel involved, missions of the deployment. It had been a rough deployment.
This was already your second pump? Okay.
Yeah, second one. I actually got injured on the first one. Not too seriously. I didn't have to leave country. But I was in a cast for 2 weeks.
Had a little boo-boo?
Yeah.
Little tally boo-boo?
Yeah. I got peppered up with some metal from a mortar shell. Mortar landed pretty close to me one day.
Yeah, how close we talking?
It might have been, thinking about it now, because I saw it hit the wall. It hit a wall.
Yeah.
And I was standing probably a meter or two from the wall.
Oh, so actually pretty close.
And it hit maybe
just above head height.
I'm trying to think in meters, but 3 or 4 meters high on the wall.
Yeah.
Not sure how distant it was, because I was looking down an alleyway.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of posted up security-looking style. And some guys were clearing a room behind me or something.
Yeah.
And I kind of hear the whistle.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of focused outward.
Yeah.
Down this alleyway, and then after it hits, I see this cloud.
This was during the daytime?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Middle of the day. And actually, during that day, there had already been over 100 mortars launched at us from several different
positions. So like you knew they were kind of like just like lurking in the area.
Exactly. And they had been kind of bracketing our positions all day. Kind of test firing and seeing how close they could get to our position without kind of giving away their own position. Because
it's always a chess.
If you're dumb, you shoot from the same spot several times, and then we see, oh, there's where it's coming from.
Yeah, we're just gonna call. We're gonna call it an airstrike.
You're done.
Yeah.
So they'll shoot, kind of get their bearings, move, fire from a different place. So it's a chess match the whole day. But they got pretty close to me on this one.
Yeah.
And so it hits, and then there's a giant cloud of dust surrounding me, and I feel, like a hot sensation on my right side just because so many small,
just little fragments,
really tiny pieces just peppered me at the same time. So I didn't feel the impact of each individual one. It was just like a wave of heat hitting the right side of my body.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of stumbling out of this cloud, and I fall down. And I have no idea how bad I'm hurt, but my nose is just like gushing blood. So it looks like I'm this massive,
like
massive bleed
up.
out going on. It's like, no, it's really just a serious concussion.
I was going to say, yeah, if it was that close, like, you definitely got concussed.
Yeah, I couldn't hear for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Just this giant ringing, and then it looks like I'm bleeding, like about to bleed out, but turns out it wasn't too bad. You know, I just had to
They ended up
surgically remove some of the bigger pieces out of my arm.
Did they air evac you, or?
They did air evac me just because
Was it only you on that specific mortar strike?
Yeah, I was the only one exposed at the time. I was actually just security for the rest of my team while they were doing some work inside.
Interesting choice of words.
So, yeah. So I was actually
no
the
more
only
details.
One that could have been hurt on that situation, but it turned out, it wasn't that bad, and I had to wear a cast, like I said, and I had a little bit of nerve damage in my hand.
Yeah.
Because some of the nerves in my arm had.
Did they still just keep you in Afghanistan for all this?
Yeah. I never left country, and then I actually got my cast cut off a little early. Because there was a mission that I didn't want to miss.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it was the right thing to do, because I still had like hardly any sensation in my trigger finger on my right side.
I was gonna say, this is your right hand,
it's
so
kind of like I was like, am I gonna be, as good a shooter as I normally am?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I imagine the last thing you want to do is like put yourself in a position where you're gonna compromise your teammates.
Yeah. So I thought about that, and it's like, is it better for me to be with these guys, to have an extra body, or am I gonna be a liability? But
well, that really can't be like an easy feeling. Is like sit on the sidelines while
I had to miss one, and it was a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
Like, God, if anyone gets hurt on my team while I'm sitting out, I'm gonna feel like a goddamn asshole for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that was. I mean, when I got hurt, that was kind of one thing that I always just thought was just like, this is dumb, because all my friends are deploying, and the last thing I want to hear is like someone got hurt. And I mean, it's completely out of the realm of my control, but it's like, at least
you can't help but
I always feel like I should have been there.
Yeah.
So that was Purple Heart number 1. Tell me about Purple Heart number 2.
I should have learned my lesson after the first one, but I'm a slow learner. So.
Dude, no, it actually, to me, it sounds like you always draw the short stick, and you get pulled with doing the most dangerous task. Like, you get the most fucked up assignment.
So this day I'm on rooftop security, actually specifically looking out for snipers and potential ambush.
Yeah. So essentially, you're the canary.
Yeah, me and a couple other guys. Yep. I'm not the only one, but I'm actually the guy that is the first to change positions on this particular security detail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what that means is I move to the new position first, and then I tell the other guys, okay, come set up here. So, again, without getting too detailed about what this mission involved, it was the middle of the day, and about we're I'd say 80 to 90% through with what we had planned to accomplish that day.
Mm-hmm.
So,
getting to wrap things up, thinking about going back,
starting to think about wrapping things up.
Yeah.
So, we hadn't seen any activity all day, and so I get the call on the radio that, all right, we're moving to our next position. So I say, okay. So I'm going to stand up, grab my stuff, and move. So I stand up. Again, I'm on top of a roof, and I reach down to grab my backpack that I was carrying with me. And about the time I stood up to throw it on, it's like I feel this pop sensation and then my ears start ringing, and then I lose control of what I'm doing, and I'm just sort of, instead of standing straight up, I'm sort of just falling straight back.
Yeah.
And I have no control over what's going on. I'm thinking.
This is in like real time, like real speed. Like,
real time, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but for you, did it feel like slow motion or?
Kind of, but it didn't really slow down that much. I just sort of, I go from, like, I'm bending over, I grab my backpack, I stand up, and then instead of standing up straight, I just keep going backwards.
Yeah.
And the horizon just kind of falls, and then I'm looking up the sky, and I'm like,
Yeah. I think that's
disoriented.
I think that's what that is like your mind processing what is happening.
Yeah.
Because you're experiencing something that it's never had, and it's trying to register what's going on.
Yeah. So I'm completely disoriented while this is happening, and I land on my back. It doesn't hurt, but I feel that I hit my back on the roof.
Yeah.
Looking up at the clouds. Everything's kind of swirling in a circle. I'm thinking, oh my God, what is going on? And I can't hear anything. My ears are ringing. And then things start to clear up after probably just a couple seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, I'm on my back now. Why am I on my back? And then I just hear this wave of bullets, like just like thousands of bullets
flying
probably within 2 meters of me, maybe a meter or
just
two.
above head,
just over me. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, what the hell is going on? Ears still ringing, but I can hear these bullets whizzing over me.
Now, like, at this point, how close was your nearest teammate?
I had 2 guys on the rooftop with me.
Okay.
But at this point, that first bullet that hits me, I keep knocking the straw off.
It's all good.
Was not. We don't know for sure that it came from a sniper rifle, but it fits ambush tactics to get a well-aimed kill shot before you open up with your machine guns. And so the accuracy of that shot and the timing of it,
right? Yeah,
led us to think, okay, this was the sniper that opened up the ambush, and then the wave of machine gun fire comes right after.
Right.
And so the reason you do that is if you're going to give away your position, you want at least to get one kill.
Try to get one, yeah.
So I was that guy. And then the 2 guys that were up on the roof with me obviously are now
cover and then engage.
Trying to cover back with return fire in the direction that it's coming from. So they're doing that, and I'm laying on my back.
You're conscious this whole time.
Completely conscious. Yeah. Confused, but conscious.
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, after I hear the bullets, I'm processing that, and I'm thinking, okay, we're in a tick. Been here before. But I can't move.
Yeah.
So
couldn't move your arms or hands or anything?
Couldn't move anything. So I'm thinking, okay, what is this condition that I'm in?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm in shock. Why would I be in shock? It's like, oh, I must have got hit by the first bullet.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that makes sense. Because nothing was going on. Then I was shot, and now we're in an ambush.
Yeah.
So all this is going on in my head while I can't move. So I think about that, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to yell for help. Okay, I can't yell for help.
Oh, because your diaphragm.
Trying to yell. Yeah. So the bullet hit me in the left side of my neck.
Mm-hmm.
Caused some damage to my C6 vertebrae. And then went down into my chest, blew up my right lung, and then exited my right shoulder blade.
Okay.
And broke 3 ribs and just shattered my shoulder blade. And so my chest cavity's compromised now, and I've got
fluid,
blood,
yeah,
completely filling up my chest cavity also. So, I'm rapidly losing my ability to get breath, and I can't make it enough pressure to,
yell,
make a sound.
something. Yeah, because like, do you think at this point do your teammates know that you were hit, or?
I don't know, because I don't know if they were looking at me, if they were looking out, but they know obviously that we're, in trouble. So I'm thinking,
Yeah.
okay, hopefully someone sees me, but
Right.
I don't know, because I'm behind them.
Yeah. Well, I would say their job at that time is to kind of get the situation under control, because what can they really do for you while being engaged?
Yeah.
So
They were doing exactly what they
yeah,
had to do, which was try to, gain
regain fire superiority and control the battle space.
That's right. So either way, I'm trying to yell for help, and I'm like, okay, I can't even do that. So how bad is my situation? Because I can't feel anything.
Yeah.
And then I know it's okay. It's getting harder and harder to breathe. Okay, it's getting harder and harder to breathe really fast. So I'm thinking, okay, I can't yell for help. I can't do anything. And I don't even know if my buddies are okay now.
Are you still hearing gunfire at this point? Or?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's just absolute chaos.
Things are rocking and rolling.
But by this time I'm hearing rockets and grenades too, because they had the whole deal going. This is a sophisticated ambush.
It's a significant engagement.
Yeah.
I'd say. Yeah.
It was absolutely well planned out, and even more so when the helicopters came in to try to pick me up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm skipping ahead now, but
that's fine.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm bleeding out and I'm feeling myself passing out, and I'm like, I'm dead. It's like I actually,
you actually thought that like this might be it.
Oh, I knew for a fact. I'm like, oh well, even if someone sees me now, I'm slipping away fast.
You're like
there's
I'm
no way
past the point of no return.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like I'm done.
What do you remember like any of like your last quote unquote like last thoughts? Like,
oh yeah, dude. I was like, God, I don't know what's about to happen, but can you like help me out here?
Yeah.
It's like I have no idea what's about to happen when the curtain falls.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
because would you say like you kind of felt the lights going out, like things getting kind of dim?
I was absolutely sure of it.
Was there a light? Was there a light, like a tunnel and all that, or was it just
like
dark? Was it just darkness?
It's like okay. Well, it feels like going to sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I feel myself passing out. I'm like, well, what does this even mean? Like,
yeah.
When this happens, where am I going to go?
What if you would have woken up and you were just like, oh, this was all a dream?
I thought about
something like that, yeah.
I was like, it makes you think about what reality even is.
Yeah, man, we can get balls deep into like simulation theory and stuff too.
That's
if
some
you want.
Stuff, isn't it? It's something I would never have thought about before.
It's a trip, yeah. Like, because, when I got hurt, I almost drowned. Yeah. I got hurt in the ocean, and I was holding my breath for a good, 4. I estimated it to be about 4 minutes because I was able to hold my breath for close to 5. And at like 4, I was like, this might be it. I might drown because I'm face down in the water, completely paralyzed. And all I remember thinking about was like, well, if this is, the end of the book, like at least I called my mom this morning and got to talk to her for 10 minutes, told her I love her. So if this is just like I predicted, like you're going to be gone before 30, and I was just like, I was like, I'm at peace. I was like, I'm at peace with myself. I felt like,
I thought about that too. And I was like, what does that even mean though? It's like when
it means like,
the lights go out.
What
am I?
Are you okay with the impact that you had on the world and that like you had left a big enough impression on those that matter, and for me it was like, well, I at least joined the Marines, straightened my life out somewhat on the path that I was on before I left. And then, I was on a good path. There was certainly things that I still wanted to accomplish, but at least for the time being, it seemed like my life was headed in the right direction, and that we can leave the question mark of like, what if, to just speculation, but at least the trajectory was on the right path. You know what I mean? Like, I was no longer just this fucking loser who was just trying to get drunk and high and, you know, just bang a bunch of random girls. Like, it was like I actually kind of had, like, for me, like, the Marines kind of gave me a purpose bigger than myself. Like, you know, it kind of validated my life to an extent where it was like I finally became a part of something. Whereas before it was like, you know, I might have worked at like Target, or I might have worked at this pizza joint, but I was always just like another cog in the wheel is the analogy I'm going to use. But it's also the same analogy that you can use for, you know, after you get hurt in the service, like the machine doesn't stop. You know, one cog comes out and they replace you right away. And the machine keeps working. And like we can get into that of like how that transitional period kind of almost fucks with you, because it's like in the, you know, our past careers, it's like it's a job, but it's also a lifestyle that you have to kind of adapt, and like you give everything that you have to this profession, or at the end of the day, it's like you're so easily replaced. Where at the time you feel special because you're like, oh, this is my position, and this is my task. These are my responsibilities. And then it's like, oh, you remove me from this situation. Like, you're just gonna plug in the next guy, bring up the next guy, and it's like there's always somebody in the pipeline to replace you. So after you got hurt, you got medevaced, and I'm assuming you went to Kandahar Air.
No, I just went back. I went back to the British base in Helmand Province, Camp Bastion. They dressed me up as well as they could, which they had a pretty sophisticated operation going.
Yeah.
By that time, and then they flew me to Landstuhl, Germany.
Yeah.
I was unconscious that whole time.
Unconscious or heavily medicated?
Well, yeah, that. Well, see, I woke back up on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Before that, obviously they were able to get me down off the roof, and after a few minutes of having no pulse and not breathing at all, somehow they got me woken back up. Actually, what my buddy did was just grind on my breastbone. What do you call that?
Sternum.
He grinded on my sternum with his knuckles. And that was apparently painful enough to wake me back up.
Yeah.
And I woke back up.
That's one of the things they teach you.
Yeah.
In first response.
Yeah. So I wake up and I'm just struggling for every breath for about 30 minutes, waiting on the helicopter to come in. And when the helicopter got there, we threw out purple smoke to give me a place to land. And so the crazy thing was that the Afghan locals that were shooting at us had a purple smoke ready to throw out at the same time.
Oh, those dickheads.
I know, man. So where they got it, how they got it, I don't know. So they throw out purple smoke, and the helicopter's saying, okay, where do you want me to land? He's like, do you see the purple smoke? And he's like, yeah, but there's two of them. It's like, okay, throws out yellow smoke. It's like, okay, do you see the yellow smoke? It's like, yeah, but there's two of them. It's like,
these guys,
they
like, came with the whole fucking arsenal of smoke bombs.
Oh, God. So, but the helicopter was trying to land as he was talking on the radio
through
the situation. So he was low enough to to where they were shooting rockets at him at this point.
Oh, wow.
So he had to pull back up, pull away, and wait on the area to get secured by the Cobras that had escorted him.
Yeah.
He was in a Huey to pick me up, the Air Force PJs. And so, I was pretty depressed to see. It's like, okay, I'm struggling for every breath. Like, the worst hell I've ever experienced in my life. Just every breath.
Yeah.
Just fighting for my life. And then seeing this helicopter, it's like, okay, I'm actually going to get out of here. This is an absolute miracle. And then to see him, like, pull back off. It's like,
just kind of honey dick you for a minute. Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's like, no, I'm not going to get out of here. But somehow, some way, they got back down and landed and pulled me out of there.
Yeah.
And then I went back up in Germany.
All right. We're going to take a pause because I got to take another piss.
I'm going to piss after you.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. Just another pee break. We're on our second glass of whiskey now, and alcohol just kind of runs through you. Alcohol and caffeine. But anyways, yeah, we're back. We left off, we were talking about Germany. Just real briefly, because I know we don't want to have to we could shoot the shit all night. We got to kind of wrap this thing up. But just real quick, like, what was the experience in Germany like, and how long were you there?
It was pretty brief. I was there for a little over 2 days, I think.
Yeah, super brief.
I was awake for maybe 4 or 5 hours of it.
Yeah. What would you do during those 4 or 5 hours?
I asked for popsicles.
All right.
And I talked to Angelina Jolie.
Ah, that's right. We talked about. I'm looking at that picture right now.
Yeah.
I might have to move it onto my nightstand a little bit later tonight. But, what was that like? You remember that conversation, or?
Yeah, I remember it. I couldn't say much because I had a breathing tube in my mouth.
Yeah.
So
Did your fucking raging boner just say it all?
I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you don't have any control of it, so it's gonna do what it's gonna do.
Yeah. No, that was definitely a positive experience.
Yeah.
Inside of the negative cloud that was going on.
Did you had those dark thoughts already kind of settled? Like,
not really, man.
Yeah.
I think I was still
kind of hopeful, like,
shock and kind of bewildered.
Yeah. Because it always takes a while for, like, reality to set in. Like, oh, this isn't just a normal, like, injury.
Yeah.
Like, this is something more serious. Yeah, that took me, I'd say probably, like, 2 weeks, really.
Yeah.
It was when they transferred me from the ICU to a rehab hospital, the VA SCI unit for rehab. I was like, oh, wait. Don't I just have to, like, climb up on some parallel bars, learn how to re-walk, and I'm gonna be back at it, right? Like, and they're like, no, we got a long road. I was just like, fuck.
Very long.
Where did you go after Germany?
Bethesda.
Yeah.
Bethesda, Maryland.
Is that where you did your initial rehab, or?
I guess you could call it rehab. It was kind of like more of getting me into the condition where I could do rehab.
Mm-hmm. So more like, I guess, ICU type.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I got to where I could sort of breathe on my own.
Okay.
Not reliably.
Still in bed?
Oh, yeah, still in bed. And struggling with pneumonia.
Yeah, same.
So
doing, like, respiratory therapy,
constantly getting...
Doing, what's that?
The cough treatment.
Yeah, where they would set your bed up, where you would tilt into the, like, they had a name for that position. Like the Trans-Zellenberg position. where basically they tilt your bed where your head is lower than your feet. And then the guy would, you'd breathe that shit, and the guy would come in and fucking cough you.
Yeah.
You had to do that. Yeah, and you would just hack up all sorts of. Yeah, you would fill up like buckets.
Yeah, man.
I mean, like actual buckets of green and brown. Like
that was a nightmare, dude.
Yeah.
Having to do that shit.
Yeah, damn, I haven't.
Long.
Dude, I haven't. Yeah, it was like every 2 hours or so, something like that. They'd come in. Yeah. And you straight up would like fill up,
It's torture, man.
You'd fill up like a good size like tumbler full of just crap.
Yeah, man. It's just
damn, I haven't thought it's been a while since I thought about that.
Such a gross feeling to have them like forcing you to cough and nasty stuff up.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people don't realize how like impaired our cough is, or like our sneeze.
Good God,
like when you sneeze around someone for the first time, and they're like, "What the hell is that?" Like, yeah, that's just me sneezing. Choo.
Yeah, and then
future. We're still watching the Army Navy game. We just saw a future infantry platoon leader right there.
Yeah,
in cutoffs and overalls. Yeah, he's going to be leading troops in Iran in 4 years. Wait, hang on. I'm trying to remember this right. And then you went to Tampa.
Yep.
Yeah, for your actual rehab.
Yep.
How, and you spent, I would imagine, somewhere close to like 3 months?
9.
Oh, damn. You did the extended tour.
Yeah.
They kicked my ass out after 3 months. Oh, you need to go home. That's all we can do for you. How would you rate the care that you were provided from like just from like the Department of Defense side of the house, from getting you out of country into Germany, into Bethesda, over to Tampa, and then the 9 months of rehab that you got in Tampa, like what letter grade would you give them?
Well, I mean, I don't know how much better or more efficient it could have been, really.
Like, did you get everything that were all your needs met? Like, did you leave the hospital feeling okay about your situation and about your future?
I think better than I expected.
Yeah.
From kind of the general sense I got from what I had heard.
Yeah.
From others who had been through similar.
Because I don't think I did, man. Like I was not ready to leave the hospital, and it kind of like fucked up my transition for the longest time, where it was like I wasn't nearly independent, and I was still barely able to feed myself, and like barely able to take a drink of water. I was in a power chair, and it was just like, what is this? Dude, I remember coming home, and like the first month at home, it was like I was in my room. I went out and bought a TV and had, one of the new flat screen TVs installed. Netflix had just come out with their streaming service, and I was getting the red envelopes from Netflix, so I was getting like 3 movies every 2-3 days, and they had just come out with their streaming service, and I was playing online poker, and I was like, I guess this is my life now. Like, I guess I'm just going to stay at home and play online poker and watch every movie on Netflix, every TV show on Netflix, and get balls deep into college football and online gambling, And it was like, it wasn't until I discovered rugby, when I, started talking to other quads that were working or were, Paralympians and actually were out there doing stuff. They had goals. Like, I had 0 goals. My goal was to finish, the King of the Hill or catch up on, Friday Night Lights or watch whatever was on Netflix, watch like every documentary I could on Netflix. And it wasn't until I found rugby that I was like, oh, there's life beyond all this shit, So how long did it take for you to kind of find rugby or adaptive sports? Let's how long did it take for you to find like adaptive sports?
Probably a year after I got home.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, that's even longer than me because I didn't find rugby for like 6 months. But what how did that happen? Like, describe that situation.
Oh well, I kind of lucked out. I got involved with the swimming program at Lakeshore.
Mm-hmm. And did you know about Lakeshore coming back home?
No.
Yeah.
No, I can't remember how I found out about it, but it was after I got home.
Yeah.
Someone reached out to me.
Yeah. And there's, dude, like, for those that don't know, like, Lakeshore is kind of the mecca for adaptive sports, or one of the meccas, kind of sprinkled throughout the U.S. And that was one of the deciding factors why I wanted to move here, was because, to have a facility that has 3 courts and an indoor track and a heated swimming pool and an accessible weightlifting gym, it's definitely a luxury, So you got into swimming first, huh?
Yeah, I'd been a swimmer in the military, so.
Yeah. Did you ever compete or?
No, I never
Yeah.
was competitive, but compared to the average human, that was pretty well adapted to the water.
Yeah.
So I thought, this would be good exercise. And
what was it first like getting in the water?
Obviously, it's way different. Your balance is thrown way off because of how much you can feel.
Yeah.
And
then just not having the core.
Yeah, not having any core strength, and to add the difference in being in the water and sitting up, in normal positioning, it's like hard to figure out how to balance yourself.
Well, almost all of swimming is like in your legs.
Yeah. So it's weird to try to figure that out. But once I got used to it, I thought, this actually feels really nice to get some pressure off my back and my hips.
Yeah, free yourself from the wheelchair.
Yeah, man.
Like the weightlessness or the weight of the weight of paralysis, really,
Yeah.
Have you ever tried like what are they called? Those isolation tanks? Like the float chambers? I've been trying to find a place that I can do that at that would be like fairly accessible. Because essentially, it's just like a big water tank it's got loads of salt in it and you just float, but you feel weightless and you close your eyes and you just feel like you're just floating. So I always wondered like how that would affect our chronic back pain and
right. You'd think it'd be good for it.
Yeah. So when did you start getting into rugby?
I think it was the 2013 season.
Yeah.
I met Rieger.
Okay.
At Lakeshore on a day that I was swimming, and he was in his rugby chair. I can't remember if I asked him or if he just offered it up to me, but he was telling me about his chair and that he plays rugby. And so he told me I should come out to a practice, and then the next Lakeshore practice, I was there, and they set me up in a chair, and
what were your like kind of first
thoughts? I thought
thoughts?
it was great. I thought it's like, oh, this is actually something competitive that I can do that's actually fun.
Yeah.
Great.
What I'm trying to think. What like do you remember the exact moment of like when you were like this might be for me? Cuz I know mine. Like dude, mine was when I showed up at the Portland practice, and this is like 6 months after my injury, and I have zero gym clothes. So, and this is like February or something, so it's a little bit cold. I don't have fucking clothes to leave the house, really. Besides my, when they sent me home from San Diego, they had packed up all my shit in my wall locker. So I had my green pickle suit sweatpants, my sweatsuit, like my pretty much my Marine PJs. And so yeah, I show up wearing a green skivvy shirt and sweatpants, and there was a news crew there that they were doing a report on the team, and they ended up interviewing me because it was like, oh, new injury, veteran, like first practice. And I remember like we were going through drills, and Ed Sir, he was the coach at the time, and he's an older Army West Point grad actually, and he's like, man, I love when we get new guys like for their first practice because I'm not the slowest guy anymore. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm gonna smoke this old man. And he proceeded to beat me on all the drills, so, like the up and backs and the full court sprints, and I was just like, oh, this is something I need to work at. And like I was like, well, if I'm gonna try to get here, like I need it. This is something like I'm actually gonna have to do. And that's what I think that's what initially kind of gave me that love bug. I was just like, dang, like all right, like, I had 2 Paralympians on the team, and this was in 09, so right after 08 when they had won gold in Beijing. So I was just like, all right, like we got goals that we want to work towards now, and I was like, this is something that if I work at, I might be able to actually do something in. Because I was an athlete before.
A reason to improve yourself.
Yeah, like I was an athlete before, but again, like I would say I was just an average athlete. Like I played lacrosse in high school, but was on a sub-mediocre team, and I was like a barely above. I wouldn't even say I was above par. I'd say just right on par, maybe even below par, like athlete, because I fucking hated running. Like, all I wanted to do was just fucking drink, smoke cigarettes, dip Copenhagen, have a good time. But yeah, like rugby was just like it got me, man. It really did.
Yeah, definitely huge impact.
Are you doing any other sports, or have you tried any other sports that you might be able to see yourself doing?
Not seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of, like we were talking about before, after I do school and this sport, I'm kind of exhausted at the end of the day. So,
yeah.
It's kind of.
So
it's hard to think about doing other things as well.
Here's kind of my take on it. Like, you don't have to do a sport and just be the best at it. Like, it's perfectly okay to do a sport and be like, I'm fine being at this recreational level. This is just something that I like to do. Yeah. Like if you like, I'm looking to get into hand cycling, and I don't want to ever I don't have any ambitions to race in the Paralympics or anything. Like I just want to ride a hand cycle because it's fun. I'm getting out there. I'm working out, and like I want to do like a lot of like outdoor trails and stuff, and just get out of the house. And also like with rugby, like you're gonna practice in a gym on a basketball court. Every basketball court in America looks exactly the same, But like, hey, let's go ride this trail. and see, different like waterfalls or rivers or just even, different like trees or whatever, like just get out in nature again.
Yeah.
But like what are some of the different other sports that like you think you'd be interested in?
I don't know. I mean, hand cycling would be a good one, I think.
Yeah.
But, as far as team sports, I don't know. I mean,
Kind of limited for quads, huh?
yeah.
I looked at one of the things that I kind of want to do next year is figuring out a 9-ball tournament that we can all go to. Like one of the PVA 9-ball tournaments.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get like, dude, if we can get like 6 or 7 guys to just show up in some whatever city, either like Oklahoma or like Vegas or whatever, like just show up for a weekend, go shoot 9-ball during the day, and then go hang out during the evenings. But I think it'd be fun. I haven't done like my research into it at all. I think something like that. Like okay, so next year the Vet Games are going to be in Portland. And I think I'm trying to convince everyone to sign up for bowling. So that way we could just spend an entire day. Because, like when you go to you've gone to like, what, 2 Vet Games?
Yeah.
Like, you see your friends, but sometimes you're like, oh, I got to go to table tennis. It's like, oh, okay, I got to go swim. Like, oh, I got to get on the bus to go over here or whatever. So, like, you see your friends, but then it's like you're all on different schedules. But I'm thinking, like, if we can all just sign up for bowling, we all get to go fucking to the bowling alley together. Just hang out, talk shit, and fucking bowl and make fun of each other because I'm sure we're all going to suck. But
No doubt.
Are you, when was the last Vet Games you went to?
It's been probably 5 years. The last one's in Tampa. Or the last one's
That was the last one you went to was Tampa? So the first one you went to was before that Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Virginia, Tampa.
Yeah.
Dang, Tampa was like, I'd say Tampa's probably been my favorite one.
Really?
Yeah, but there's been some cool ones after that. Like Dallas was kind of cool. Orlando was kind of cool. You think about coming back?
Yeah.
Portland's a good time. Tell you this, I've been telling everyone this. Come to the Portland one, we'll go to this really fun strip club on a Tuesday. They do Tiny Tuesdays, and it's just midget strippers, and they sell like mini corn dogs. Down? Yeah, it's a good time. I mean, I go now for more of like the mentoring aspect. Like the competition is all cool. Like I will always take an opportunity to play rugby. But then also to do other sports, like I want to try doing table tennis sometime. And actually just like, I fucked around, but like actually play and compete, I think would be fun. The only like events that I kind of take serious would be like the slalom, and that's like the wheelchair obstacle course. And I just like that because it's like it's life skills,
Yeah.
like getting around your community because the world isn't an accessible place. Like there's some times where you're gonna have to go around things or jump up over things or drop down on things, and like it's
all
like
day long.
it's problem solving. It's you're just consistently solving puzzles and problems, and like yeah, I do that, and then like 9-ball, but I don't train 9-ball. Like I don't go to the bar and drop quarters into a machine and practice my 9-ball, but everything else, like it's just connecting and networking and meeting like new injuries and just like talking to them and being like, listen, like I don't know like how you're dealing with certain things, but like we've all been at that point.
Yeah.
Like we've all been at that low point, and you just keep after it, and things are always gonna get better. Like things things are going to improve. You're going to start figuring how to do things, and you're just going to build like a network of support. 'Cause I think that's really like one of the most important things. What dealing with like a spinal cord injury is like building that support network. You know what I mean? Like it's you can do it alone, but it's certainly a lot harder. So
Way harder.
yeah, and like from what I've gathered, like our families are pretty similar, where you got like a strong support network. Like you'd say that was true, like with your folks,
For sure.
because they seem great. Like
Yeah.
I mean, your dad's the equipment manager for the team.
Yeah.
Like not I don't want to say like not a lot of fathers would do it, but it takes a special person to dedicate that time to do it, because he knows like he's not getting anything out of it, but he knows that you're benefiting from it. So shout out to Chuck, you're the man.
Yeah, I've definitely got a strong support network for sure.
Yeah, which let's end it. But before we do, I wanted to just bring up we're in your home, and it's kind of a special home, right?
I'd say so.
Yeah. 'Cause like I'll let you tell the story, but before you had this home, you were living back home with your folks,
Right.
which is like literally right next door. and not even a football field away.
No.
But what's in like 5 minutes or so, tell me the story about this home.
So, when I first came home, I was living with my parents for a couple of years, and I was starting to think, hey, I need to try to figure out how to get my own place. But I didn't want to move too far away, so I was inquiring about a loan program through the VA to buy something that I thought, would fit my needs.
Yeah.
So
were you thinking like a home at that point, or like an apartment, or
probably a home, but I was open to different options, and
like a trailer? Or
I mean, whatever was going to be the easiest to get in and around in.
Yeah.
So somehow in that search, I got connected with someone who was part of the Tunnels to Towers Foundation.
Yeah.
Out of New York City. Got a call from the chairman asking me if they could build a house for me. I was like, well, yes.
I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you want to do that, yeah. So got set up with their program, and they raised all the money, and
yeah, you got that. You got one of the posters from the benefit concert in that room that I'm staying in. With I mean, this is like a charity that like Gary Sinise is very involved in.
Right.
And how many times you got to meet him? A couple times, right?
Yeah, I met him a few times. He's a pretty awesome dude.
Yeah, and I would say he's like one of the few sincere guys. And that's, for me, I mean, like really based off of like personal experience, like my only personal experience. It's like, okay, this, like, Gary actually, like, he says what he means, and he means what he says. And I really feel like he's one of the guys that's like, his heart's in the right place, and he's not just doing it for likes on, Twitter or Instagram. Cause,
for the publicity.
So like they built you this home right next to your parents' house. What has it meant to you as far as like how has it improved your quality of life?
I say it improved my quality of life immensely. You know, although I wouldn't say I'm 100% independent. It's like I sort of feel that way when I got my own place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which does a lot for me mentally, if nothing else. You know, it's a struggle to overcome the feeling that you're having to rely on other people for,
Yeah.
a lot
No,
of
I
your
get it,
livelihood.
dude. Yeah.
So it's like, at least being in my own place kind of helps overcome that. Kind of makes you think, well, still an adult human being that can,
Right. Well, isn't
take
that
care
like
of myself.
isn't that like what we're always kind of like after is like after a traumatic injury such as like what we're having to deal with is like you lose almost all your independence immediately, and then it's just like trying to crawl back and like reclaim certain aspects of your life and your identity, and like, is this the person that like I'm now? Like, am I stuck being this dependent person? And I would imagine like you were fairly independent before your injury, because I was like fiercely independent. Like I hated having to rely on people and everything, and then it's like having everything stripped away from me, and it's like, oh. But you eventually you hit a turning point and you start figuring things out, and like if independence is something that like you truly desire and that you like truly want, like you're gonna figure out a way to do it. Like adapt and overcome is such a cliche saying, but I really, and this might just be based off of my sample size, but most of my veteran friends have been able to kind of adapt and deal with their injuries. I mean, this includes the people that aren't service connected, that served 4 years, got out, lived a life of like 8 years, and then got in a car accident. So they're not getting any veteran benefits. But I think it's like the mentality still, like you know how to deal with the suck, and it just seems like we're better equipped to handle stuff like this. I don't know if that's like kind of like, I don't know, egotistical to say, but that's just based from what I've gathered,
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Would you say that like being a Marine and like having recon training under your belt and those experiences that like you got while serving overseas, like would you say that helped you along?
Oh, I'm sure it helped me in ways I probably don't even realize.
Yeah.
When I think about it, yeah, it's like, testing yourself over and over and over again.
Yeah.
To
It's
push your own limits.
Isn't it always just like a series of problem solving?
Yeah.
And it's like that's what we did in the military. Was just every day was just a series of just different puzzles, and how like it's like we're solving this puzzle in a compressed time frame. Like the example I'll give is like yesterday I threw that little mini tennis ball and it came under the couch, and your dog was trying to get after it, and I was like, well, fuck, I gotta figure out how to eventually get it, and it's like not able to reach it. What are we gonna do? Like, what's the next? Like, what's the next procedure? And I was like, well, let's go find a stick that can reach it and get the stick. And it's like, oh, the angles are all fucked up. So like, what are we gonna do now? And it's like, all right, let's attack it from the side. And eventually we figured it out. But like, I think that's what's really helped me, was having like kind of that state of mind of just no problem is bigger than what your mind is capable of solving. It's just, are you able to make those like mental hurdles to kind of like figure it out? And when you don't figure it out, like, are you just going to give up and go, throw your hands up in the air, or are you going to, find a different approach to the problem and, maybe work the solution from a different angle? All right.
That's all day long, man.
Yeah. So
yeah, every day is kind of figuring out a new issue that you gotta.
all right. So we're gonna end it, but I want to ask you one more question because it's like towards
Said
the
that
end.
last time.
I know. Dude. I'm trying to get some filler. It's towards the end of the year. We're recording this. It's like mid-December. What are your goals for next year, for 2020?
Well, the first one is to make sure I graduate.
Oh, yeah, big deal.
Okay. And what I'm leaning towards now is to start a master's program. And before that, what I think I'd like to do is start learning what I need to learn in order to get my CFA certification. Chartered financial analyst.
Okay.
So the job opportunities that I have with a degree in finance.
It's ambitious, man. I don't know where you get the motivation to do that much school, because that's part of the reason why I joined the Marines. I was like, I'm just trying to delay school for as long as possible. I don't want. Everyone's telling me go to college, study this, study that. And I'm just like, I don't want to do any of that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just like torturing myself sometimes.
Well, I mean, a lot of us like that kind of. A lot of us like you just need something to stay busy, right? Like it's like, well, if you weren't in school, like what are you gonna do? And I mean, for me, I found my role in life through Oscar Mike and just staying busy that way. Because without it, like maybe I would go back to school, but I need something to do. Because when I have those periods, those lulls where it's like I've been home for like 2 weeks, haven't done shit, barely left the house, just been playing Xbox. Like what am I gonna do? It's like it's not how I want to spend my time.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, man, we'll end it on that, man. I want to say just thanks again, man, for having me here in your house, and we're gonna watch some UFC later tonight, and by the time this ends, I'll be back in Portland. But man, thanks for having me over, dude. This has been fun.
No doubt, man. Good to have you.
We'll keep the drinks coming, and